We'll get started.
Hari Om.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Muninam Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vridavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusantatami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Namostu te Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullaravindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraikaparnaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Geetam Drutaduhe Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyaha Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. So we are on the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where we see Arjuna, that section where Arjuna is really, really wonderstruck by this great vision. He says, Disho na jane na labhe na cha sharma prasida devam devesha jagan nivasa. We are actually today going to do from shlokas 25 through 31. I'm hoping to complete that section of Arjuna's wonderstruck vision, and he says, I am really unable to locate even the quarters of the heavens. Forget about the earth, even the quarters of the heavens I'm not able to locate. This is in the shloka 25 almost. And he says, he's even completely lost his wits when he is viewing this mysterious form of the Lord in front of him. And he keeps on saying, just please bless me with your this, please. He's, it's like for us, all of us in life, right? When things are happening great, or all the things that we already know in our mind, we're not surprised. But then there are so many things about life which, it exposes us to, like, for example, when the tsunami came, or even when you go to the Grand Canyon, things which is beyond your purview of your mind, then the mind gets totally not just wonderstruck. It's like, really, all these things actually exist in the world. So this is the kind of awestruckness that Arjuna is really going through. And in this shlokas today, what we are going to see is, so far, he gets exposed to what is the present state of the world. But you will see Krishna also giving him an idea what the future is going to look like. I wish we had Krishna in our life sometimes to tell us also, right? How the future is going to be of our country, how is the future going to be for our children, and how is the future going to be even for us, when I'm getting old, how is my life going to be, right? So here, Arjuna, even though he really did not ask for what the future is going to be, but Krishna, out of his own compassion, feels that if he doesn't give Arjuna this idea of how the future is going to be. It will be, he would not be fulfilling his complete vision that he wanted to give Arjuna. Okay. So just one shloka before where we start with the 25, in this 24, what we just finished 2 weeks ago, we didn't have a class last week because of Shivratri. But in this shloka, Arjuna really describes what he is seeing of this absolutely gigantic cosmos. He says the cosmos looks like it's touching the sky. And this reminds me, just 2 days ago, I was in Dehradun and Missouri, and we went to this point called Cloud Point. And, the car literally drove all the way up to the point where the clouds are touching the mountains. It was that big. It was almost like, when you go on your flight, you come to a certain altitude where you are now seeing, the things are so small. To that extent, we had gone and we touched the clouds. So that's what, when I was reading this shloka, nabhas prasham deeptam aneka varnam, touching almost that heaven. To that extent, he's able to, Arjuna seeing that entire vision in front of him, and sometimes it's hard for us to imagine, but we have to literally close our eyes and imagine what Arjuna is seeing, in front of him. And Krishna had actually given the same vision even to his own mother, Yashoda, right? When he was very young, when she had put the mud into the mouth and she asked him to open, Yashoda could see that vision also. So, next week we'll talk a little more on this, how Krishna has not just shown this vision only to Arjuna. He has shown about 4 or 5 times actually. But here, this vision that Arjuna is now seeing is really, it's just, we have to only close our eyes and imagine to what extent our minds can actually go, But it is even beyond that is what Krishna is really showing that, So nabhasprasham deeptam anekavarnam vyatananam deepta vishala netram drishva hi tvam pravyatita antaratma dhritim na vindami shamam cha Vishnu. So this is the extent which he's able to see there, And here, pravyatita antaratma, Arjuna, is saying that, I'm frightened because of the kalam, So here, time and space, if you look at it, they are within this realm of Maya. And here, Arjuna is exposed to that time effect. And he says, that this Kala, this one, I seem to have lost even my peace of mind because the time has, in the element of time, he's able to see all these things happening. And pretty soon, you will see how the same element of time has an effect in him seeing the future. So far in the shlokas, we may see that, Arjuna is really being tested for his endurance limit. To what extent can Arjuna's mind really go? What is the extent to which Arjuna can be pushed to a kind of a discomfort where, he finally says, he really cannot take it anymore. And that's what in Shloka 25, he says, Dramshtra karalani cha te mukhani drishtvaiva kala nala sannibhani disho na jane nalabhe cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. So this is the thing when we started today, when I said about how Arjuna is now saying that, I've really lost a sense of direction. He sees, again, this is that imagination, like, as I said, our imagination typically can go into things like how great the world can be. But here, Krishna is also exposing the other side of his vision, of his magnitude. So Damshra Karalani Chate Mukhani. So Arjuna is seeing this. This just kind of reminds him the fact that the world at some point is going to end. So Drishtva Eva Kala Anala Sannibhani. This is just to remind him that, how time can actually destroy things ultimately. Some things that, we just think that today I'm so comfortable. And I don't know how the weather is in Michigan today, but maybe today it's a little better than how it was 2 weeks ago. But again, this is going to change, right? So while Arjuna is saying that, this whole change can happen because of fire, I know fire in US, in California side, you have that dissolution going on, but you see how the time element ultimately is kind of destroyed, so to speak, by things like fire or snow or water and fire and everything, right? So he's Arjuna is somewhat reminded of the temporariness of life, so to speak. And he's like so much struck by it. And he says, Disho na jane na labhe cha sharma. I've lost all sense of direction and I find no comfort. So Arjuna is like saying, enough is enough. Sometimes you go on this huge roller coasters. In the beginning, it looks like fun, but then after some time, you're like, okay, when am I going to come back? Just leave me alone, let me out. So he's pretty much he's coming to realize that the power that he's been exposed to, because Arjuna, he was the one who really asked for this vision. It's not that Krishna is just giving it to him. Arjuna wanted the vision, but now he is coming to a point where he says, this is enough for me. He says, Drishva Damshra Kararani Chitte Mukhani. Your mouth, which is frightening with the protruding feet, symbolizes again. Wait a minute, did I make a mistake? Yeah, no, it's same thing. So he says, it basically, the teeth, it is kind of symbolic to the pain that we all go through also. We forget about the pain that we go through in life. And what is it that really causes the pain? It is basically, at the end of the day, time. Time is the one which is kind of a constant thing. We don't pay attention to time actually as much as we should. Time is the only thing which is actually in our hands. If you think about it, it's not the money, it's not the health. It's all a matter of how we are really paying attention to time. And time is the one which gives us the pain. And so here he's especially talking about how time is the one which really symbolizes, the teeth symbolizes the pain that is caused, and Kala is the cause of the pain. And this is, so Kala Sannibhani, which is comparable to, like here he's saying that this time ultimately is the one which will also lead to dissolution. So, according to our Shastras, scriptures, at the time of Pralaya, the whole creation is destroyed. And this, again, when it comes back, so the order of dissolution is, you have the Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jalam, and Prithvi. So these 5 elements are created in that order. First the space comes. From the space you have the air, and from air you have fire. From fire you have water, and then finally Prithvi. So at the time the resolution takes place in the reverse order. So when it comes back, it's the other way. So Prithvi, the first principle, is dissolved. Actually, the dissolution. So that is how the creation happens. But when it is dissolved, what happens is the earth dissolves into the water, and the water then, then gets resolved or dissolved into the fire. And from the fire, that, you have the earth, and finally the space. So all these gets completely destroyed or absorbed, if you want to say, or they kind of go into sort of a hibernation. And then when the time for the next pralaya is supposed to comes, then it starts off with the order of first the space and then air and etc. So here he's this in some ways is representative of what is going on, and this Arjuna is already able to say it, and this information is so much, it's such an overload that he's just not able to take it. And he says, I have now completely lost of my own senses, because it's only through our senses that we can actually perceive everything. Even that, I'm just not able to take it. So he says, please proceed the Devesh Jagat Nivasa. Please, please, take this enough away from me. I'm just had enough of what you have shown me so far. So then moving on to shloka number 26. Now we come to what Krishna wants to show him is the future. So actually in the same chapter 11, in shloka number 7, when Arjuna asks Krishna, he says, okay, you've told me so much about your glories. Now really show me who you are. So Krishna gives him that Divya Chakshu, right? But then Krishna feels that, it's not enough if I just give him this divine eye. He wants to actually now show him what the outcome of the war is going to be. Okay? So that is the next 6 verses from 26 to 31 that we'll see today. It's kind of, Krishna is giving what is going, he's predicting what is going to happen. And he shows the result of the war, which is already about to take place. Okay? So the outcome of the war, what is going to happen? So I'll just chant this shloka. Ami cha tvam drishta dhritarashtrasya putraha Ami cha tvam dhritarashtrasya putraha sarve sahaivavanipaala sangaihi sarve sahaivavanipaala sangaihi Bhishmo drona suta putrastathaso Bhishmo drona suta putrastathaso Sahasmadhiryairapi yodhumukyaihi Sahasamadhyairapi yodhamukyaihi. So he says, essentially, Arjuna didn't really ask for it, but then Krishna kind of gives him this kind of a pleasant surprise, So even though Arjuna, in the previous shloka says that, okay, stop, Krishna, this is enough for me. But he now wants to push him a little further to show him how the future is going to be. So as I said earlier, time and space are the things in which all these events are happening, right? So both this time and space, they're kind of interrelated. And here he wants to show that in this element of space and time, not only have you seen the past that has happened, the present, but here you have the future also. So, these ami chatvam drishtarastasya putraha. So all these into that vision, into ultimately, if you remember when we talked about everything is happening in the Lord, in Ishvara. It's not like Ishvara is in everyone. In Ishvara, everything is happening. The entire world of creation, the entire world of destruction, sustenance, everything is happening. So here he's saying that, into you, these sons of Dhritarashtra, as well as Sarve Saha Eva Avanipala Sangaha, as well as the host of the rulers of the earth. And who are they? This includes Bhishma, Drona, and then Suta Putra Tatha Asau, as well as Karna. So even though he doesn't mention Karna by name, this is implied where he says Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Saha Asmadihi, together with our own prominent army generals also. So the destruction is happening on both sides, and he's Arjuna is able to see that through this vision that Krishna is given him. Okay, so he's really getting very close up all this vision of people who are entering into the Lord. The destruction is happening. So uh, Amihi Chatvam Dhritarashtra Putraha. So Dhritarashtra is all the sons of Dhritarashtra, as well as the Kauravas. Sarve Saha Eva Avanipal Sangaihi. So he's referring to all the Kauravas who are in front. And then he says, Bhishma Drona Suta Putra, which we saw then, Saha Eva Asmadihi Abhiyoda Mukhehi. So all this is happening, and this entire thing is still for Arjuna really, really frightening, but he needs to, Krishna wants to give him that exposure on how, of course, the fact when we get so attached to our own children, our own people, which in the first chapter, which Arjuna was telling Krishna, how can I really leave everyone? I'm so attached to all of them. But here, ultimately, this shloka is trying to show it's not just, of course, the Kauravas are getting killed, but many people on his own side. He's seeing all this really happening. So, continuing further on the same, yes, Geeta? You're mute. Yeah.
The previous, who are the second item which you mentioned?
It is his own people.
His own host of the ruler. No, not that. Above that, hosts of the rulers of the earth.
Right. So basically, he's trying to show how, in the case of Kauravas, right? Not just
on the top it says sons of Dhritarashtra.
Right.
And then second line, both are
so correct. So Sarva Saha Eva Avanipala Sangahi. Avanipala basically means the kings, because in olden days, like if you remember, Duryodhana, when he went to Krishna, he asked him the boon of give me all the people who are on your side. And so Krishna gives him this entire army, so which includes all the kings, everyone.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay. So basically, he's referring to all the kings who sided with Duryodhana.
Correct. Okay. Got it. Thanks.
So, but then the shloka is critical to recognize that Krishna is telling him that it's not just the people on the Kaurava side, but guess what, Arjuna, even your side, you are going to lose everyone. Yeah. So that's the key important thing. So then in shloka 27, he starts to continue that theme, and he says, where he says that not only, of course, your Kauravas, this one, but you will see how others are also getting in. So this is a little more, again, a kind of a gory way of telling Arjuna, what is happening in the battlefield. It's not as if people are just when they're getting killed. How are they really entering into that creation sustenance element itself? So he says, "Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti, Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti, Damshrakaralani bhayanakani." दंश्राकरालानि भयानकानि केचिद्विलग्ना दशनान्तरेषु केचिद्विलग्ना दशनान्तरेषु सन्दृश्यन्ते चूर्णितैर्तरु ऋतमाङ्गैः Churnitairutam Churnitairutamangaihi Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti Damshrakaralani bhayanakani Kechit vilangna dashanantareshu Sandarshayante churnitairutamangaihi. So, I
It's
mean,
really
here
gory, gory.
very gory. Exactly. It's literally so, we all are, we love everything when it goes beautifully, and we hate to see blood. We hate to see dead carcass. It's very hard for us to deal with these things. But I think in some ways, by having this information in Bhagavad Gita, it is really exposing us to the other side of life. We don't want to face it. But this is exactly what is happening. And that is why he's coming up with, different kinds of, this churnit, meaning powder. The things are being crushed into powder. It just highlights actually the force of how it is happening. I mean, I'm sure this is how tsunami would have been, right? In tsunami, how many people were getting into those waves? They were just hurled on the rocks, which is along the sides and everything. And imagine the kind of death they would have gone through. It's really so gruesome even to think about it. But it basically reminds us of the ephemerality of the material world, which is essentially, I mean, so when I say ephemeral, it's the temporariness of this material world, which seems so glamorous to us. All these colors, all these things. On one hand, Ishvara is creating all these variety of names and forms so that we can exhaust our vasanas. Like in Kathopanishad, it tells you about how we have all these senses, which in many ways are gateways through which our vasanas are exhausted. But guess what we do? We tend to take things into ourselves all the time. We build even more vasanas. So here he's trying to show about how, look at how also the destruction is happening in the world. When we read the news, let's take the news, digest it. Recently, there's a beautiful movie that has come out on Sambhaji. What is it? Chava, I think. Uh, um, it's really a story about how Shivaji, Chhatrapati Shivaji, right? His Jayanti was recently celebrated on February 19th, and his son Sambhaji, amazing warrior whom we have not read so much, but if you want, I can just send you a short note about how Sambhaji was killed by Aurangzeb. You know, this great warrior who gave so much for Bharat, how his eyes were literally poked by hot iron, and how he was such a great poet, and this and because he was such a great poet and everything, his tongue was completely cut off, and in spite of it, with that life he was like taken across. So I know I'm going through such gory details. For you it is late night time, and maybe I shouldn't really go too much into that, but the point about it is, I mean, even for me, when I go to movies, I'll just close my eyes when these things are kind of happening. But sometimes we forget that these things are happening in the world, you know. But not to digress from what the shloka is saying, but the shloka is trying to show that, that all these people are entering into your mouth. Arjuna is saying, you know, um, basically they don't even know what they're getting into, but this destruction is constantly happening. And it seems to be like as if they're really, going really fast here. Vaktrani te tvara mana vishanti into your mouth. They're entering as if this one. And this is too much for me to handle because, again, it's his own people, right? When something is happening in another part of the world, we really don't care about it. But they are also actually an extension of all of us, which we need to realize, understand that this is part of the entire processes, if you want to think about it that way, which is happening in the world, which we need to be aware of. So these shlokas, actually 26 and 27, they go together. 26 describes the people, and this basically is a process on what is happening to all of us when we die, and yeah. So then in shloka 28, he starts to explain even more about the various aspects of um, this destruction which is going to happen. So यथा नदीनां बहवोऽम्बुवेगाः यथा नदीनां बहवोऽम्बुवेगाः समुद्रमेवाभिमुखा द्रवन्ति समुद्रमेवाभिमुखा द्रवन्ति तथा तवामि नरलोकवीराः तथा तवामि नरलोकवीराः विशन्ति विशन्ति वक्त्राण्यभिविज्वलन्ति विशन्ति वक्त्राण्यभिविज्वलन्ति. So he says, just like numerous rivers with the torrents of water currents. So just like, how the rivers, I remember one beautiful, I've shared this, I think, in our study group about one Khalil Gibran, how the rivers, when they go into the sea, they don't look back at all. They just go into the water, So just as numerous rivers with the torrents of water currents, samudram eva abhimukha dravanti. They are heading in the seaward direction alone, flow towards and into the sea. Tatha tava ami naraloka viraha. So also, all these people, the heroes, naraloka viraha, all among the heroes among the world of men, they enter into your mouths that spell a flaming death to all. So vishanti bhaktrani abhi vijwalanti. So it's basically they're just entering into your own this, into Ishvara. Again, he's explaining about how people are kind of helpless. Helplessly they're living this life. Do we really plan? We first of all, of course, we haven't planned our birth when we came into this world, but death is really in our hands. In some ways, in many ways, I would say, right? For example, we can definitely live a very healthy life, eating healthy food, sleeping well, and having good relations with all our people around. All this is in our hands. So, and we can definitely drive slowly. Accidents, we can avoid accidents. So, death is really in our hands. But most people, like the point he's trying to make is people are helpless. They are just, going from one thing to another, not really thinking that death will happen at some point. What is really my purpose of my life? Why am I living the way I'm living? Do we even sit and even ponder upon this? Forget about meditation. Even do we even just sit and think, is my life going the way I had planned? So, in some ways, this is just to tell about how things happen in the world and how, again, very poignant kind of a verse trying to show the thing about how we are leading our lives, in this world. Yeah. Anything? Any questions or thoughts about? Okay, so let's move on to shloka number 29. So in this shloka 29, in 28, we saw, that we see all these rivers, they are merging into this big ocean, so too all humanity, they are merging into Ishvara, correct? So some, maybe there might be a doubt then. So water's in it, it naturally flows, wherever the flow goes. But and also another example, like for example, when you have this rain which is just about to come, you see so many of these insects which gets attracted to the light. Have you seen that? It's a sight to watch. You see all these insects, they get attracted to the light, and within about 15 minutes, they are already dying, you know. And but then why is this happening even to human beings? Why are we not able to realize we are almost like those moths? We are just not even thinking about how we are living our life. So that's the example that Arjuna is bringing here. Yatha pradeeptam jwalanam patangaha, yatha pradeeptam jwalanam patangaha, vishanti nashaya samudravegaha, vishanti nashaya samudhavegaha, tathaiva nashaya vishanti lokan, तथा तथैव नाशाय विशन्ति लोकाः तवापि वक्त्राणि समुद्रवेगाः तथापि वक्त्राणि समुद्रवेगाः. So that example he's giving here, about how these moths, they just are not thinking. They're just rushing towards this light, and for sure they're going to die. We all can see that, but they just are not thinking about it. So too, all these people who are, this Kauravas, the kings, and everyone, they have just thought that they have to play a part in this battle, and then just die. So really, so Arjuna is saying, Patanga Jwalanti Vishanta. Patanga means insects or moth. And these insects are attracted by this big, huge object. And so generally, when these insects are attracted by the light, they, for sure, it has to, they have to die, right? So too, we are, all these living beings, they are essentially knowingly or unknowingly samudra vegahad, with great speed, they are going towards you, O Ishvara. So some of them totally, they don't accept, they have not even thought about time or anything. They just want to be with you. So it's just a kind of a simile that Arjuna is using here in order to show what he's seeing, all these people who are dying. So they all, in some ways, he's trying to say that, Arjuna is saying, Krishna, they all want to be with you for this purpose. So then moving on to shloka number 30, we see, he continues to describe what he's seeing, and he is kind of again wanting to take his eyes away from this whole, on one hand, he's seeing all this happening, but on the other hand, he's like, okay, stop. So he's coming to saying that. Lelihase grasamanas samantat, लेलीह्यसे ग्रसमानः समन्तात् लोकान् समग्रान् वदने ज्वलद्भिः लोकान् समग्रान् वदने ज्वलद्भिः तेजोभिरापूर्य जगत् समग्रम् तेजोभिरापूर्य जगत् समग्रम् भासस्तवाग्रा प्रतपन्ति विष्णु भासस्तवग्रो tavagra pratapanti Vishnu. So he's saying, he's describing how Krishna is um, reacting to the people who are coming into him. So he says, Leli hise grasamana samantat. So while you're devouring them, you seem to be enjoying it. You know, he's saying you're licking your lips from every side, relishing every single creature with your flaming, flickering lips. Lokan samagran vadanat jwalat bihi. So, with the fire in his mouth, he's saying, you seem to be really enjoying this whole thing. And then he's saying, Tejo bihi apurya jagat samagram. You seem to be filling up this entire world with this heat. Bhasas tava ugraha pratapanti Vishnu. So, again, as Vishnu, you seem to be, you're so hot. There is so much going on here. And I'm seeing all this happening, which is really too much for me to take it, even. So, Leli him Grasamana Samantat. So, he's trying to again show, and I just wanted to put that alone here to show you how, he's saying that you seem to be really enjoying the whole thing. It's not as if, you're taking this as part of everything that is happening. So, on one hand, he's saying this, and the other hand, he's also trying to show the temporariness again of life. At the end of the day, this whole dissolution has to happen at some time. And he's saying that, Bhagavan, you seem to be swallowing everything in this world is kind of going back into the pralaya itself. So that is the idea which he's trying to again bring it up. So then moving on to shlokas 31, this is kind of the last shloka before Arjuna has had his complete opportunity to ask whatever he wants. And so, before Krishna tells him what is really the meaning of all this, what he has shown, he says here, basically he's trying to ask him, so tell me who you are, Akyahi me ko bhavanugra rupaha. आख्याहि मे को भवानुग्रह रूपः नमोस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद नमोस्तु ते देववर प्रसीद विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यम् विज्ञातुमिच्छामि भवन्तमाद्यम् न हि प्रजानामि तव प्रवृत्तिम् Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. So, if you remember in Srimad Bhagavatam, we had Lord Vishnu who incarnates as Narsimha to slay Hiranyakashipu, right? But his anger is not appeased even after doing so. So, extremely, Prahlad gets very scared, worried, and not Prahlada, sorry, the heavenly deities, they send Prahlada, Lord Vishnu, to talk to Narsimha. So he first praises Lord Vishnu, after which he asks him several questions, and what is the best way to pacify an angry person, which is what Arjuna is trying to finally talk about here. He wants to, kind of appease him. He says, okay, you've shown me your complete Rupam. Now, I really, really want to know you, and I really do not know what your purpose is. So that is what he's trying to say here. So Krishna, as he had just kind of completely transformed himself to a kind of a normal human being to this gigantic form, right? That in the beginning, of course, Arjuna was really happy that he was seeing it, but then it was getting more and more and more scary. So Arjuna sort of, kind of comes back to his senses and he says, wait a minute, Krishna, you've shown me this is enough for me, but now tell me why. why are you doing this? What is really your mission? What is your purpose? So this is exactly what Arjuna really wants to say, talk here. Um, Akya hike kah Bhagavan Ugra Rupa. Tell me, why are you in this fierce form? Namostute Deva Vara Prasida. He's humbly prostrating to him. He says, I know you, there must be a very good reason here. Vijnatum ichhami. I really want to know this. Bhavantam Adyam. Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. I still don't know what is your purpose for this whole thing. So, kind of very fundamental questions he's coming to, Ugra Rupaha, which is meaning that it is, this, are you really very pleasant? Are you very, this one? Or are you this really fierce one? So first he says, Kah Bhagavan Ugra Rupaha. Who are you? Are you this really the fierce one? Or Akya Hime, I've got, I have all these doubts here. So please tell me what, where, and why are you doing all this? Okay, so we will leave with these questions for next week. I really wanted to complete this whole portion because, again, Krishna's delivery of this is going to be an amazing answer to all the questions that Arjuna is asking. Okay. So we'll stop here. Any questions or thoughts or?
Here, Hariom, Krishna is showing the whole dissolution. That's what,
The last, correct, exactly.
In the slokas, like he's even the Duryodhanas, and then, of other side, as well
Correct.
as, people from the Pandavas side. So he's, the whole dissolution is showing to Arjuna. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so very critical, right? For all of us, we don't think about destruction so much, which is probably why when things like the tsunami and all that happens, we are taken by surprise. And we don't know what else is going to happen in the future, right? And we don't want to think about it. If you, on one hand, we don't think about it, and we don't want to think about it. But I think this section of Bhagavad Gita is really exposing us to, first of all, beyond our imagination, what the form of the Lord is. We go to Bharati temple or SP temple, and we see Lord Venkateshwaras and all the Devis, and we think that is all. We see the Saukhyam, the Saumyam, the beautiful smile on Lord Venkateshwara and everything, and of course, the mind calms down, and we look and see that is who the Lord is, the compassionate one. And then we question, okay, you're so compassionate. Why are you doing all this destruction and everything in the world, right? But if we accept that destruction is also part of living, that anything which lives has to die, and how it dies is something which we cannot predict it. We just have to accept it. And that is what this section from the shlokas 25 to 31, of course, 25 to 31 is showing the future on one hand to reassure Arjuna about the outcome of the war, but also to show that people are indeed going to die. How are they going to die? And, so that depiction is what is shown in these shlokas.
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Meena.
Good, Meena.
So, is the Lord still in Vishwarupa form when Arjuna is raising all these questions?
Yes, absolutely. This is completely, the entire thing is only Vishwarupa.
Mm-hmm. But first, Arjuna was saying, I'm ready, right? He was actually ready. But then when he sees this Vishwarupam, he's totally again completely confused. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because again, it is beyond our imagination, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Imagine on a very different thing, I was thinking if a dinosaur were to suddenly walk in front of you,
Mm.
it
Yeah.
would take you completely by surprise. How did this dinosaur come into my subdivision?
Okay.
It's total, it's even beyond wonder. So in the beginning, Arjuna is
Unimaginable.
exposed to a wonder and everything. Later, Krishna is pushing his boundary of imagination to think about also this other side which is happening with his destruction and everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Do we have time? I have a
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
We have 5 minutes. Yes.
Hari Om, I want to go back to verse 26 and 27. Can we take a look at the verse 26 and 27? Over here, Arjuna is seeing that the sons of Dhritarashtra and the rulers of the earth and Bhishma, Drona, everyone is going, they're all going to perish. They are warriors, and in this war, they're doing the dharma, they are warriors, they came onto the battlefield, they're going to do the dharma of fighting, and they're going to, and some live, some die. That is how what do you call that's how the war goes. Some live, some die. That's the second paragraph, the 27th. Over here, into your mouths they all enter as if in great hurry, filled. What I mean, they are warriors, they are kshatriyas, they are on the battlefield. It is the Kurukshetra Dharam, we say it is the fight for the, it's fight between good and evil. Whichever part of the army they are, it doesn't matter. They are warriors and they are standing and they are on the battlefield. What does this mean? Enter in a great hurry.
Right. So, two things like you pointed out also. One of them is they seem to be in a great hurry to perform their karma. Their karma is to be a warrior and fight. But another meaning could be that they are in a great hurry to reach that feet of the Lord. They are, that could be one interpretation, I would say. Reading directly into it, it does seem like, they're fighting so much for a cause. As I said, whatever their karma was as a soldier, that they're doing that. But another way to look at it could be is that they are in a great hurry to reach that Lord, the feet of the Lord.
But I don't think they are ready to die. I don't know. That's my version. Why would they like to die? They don't want to die, right?
So, I mean, if you think about, and I think about this, 2 days ago, I was in Dehradun, which is on the border of our India and Tibet and all that. And there are so many defense things. And I was thinking about the same thing. People who are in the army, when they join the army, I think one thing is very clear in the mind that they may live, they may die. We don't think that way. We who live this normal lives, we don't think about it that way. But people in the army, they do that. Yeah.
But here they are not liking to die, right? These warriors, I don't know.
I don't think they even think that they're going to die. They just are doing their job. And whether they live or dies, they know is not in their hands. Yeah.
Hari Om,
Yeah, Anant?
yeah, it's another context. Looking at the slokas 28 and 29, I heard a different kind of explanation somewhere. Okay, so the 28 says people as if rivers are going into the ocean, right? So this could be referring to a good people, I mean, on the Pandava side, or whoever are who are standing towards dharma, because the river goes to the ocean. It's a natural process. And the sloka number 29, it could be referring to people who are on the siding the adharma.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's so they are like the moths who are they themselves going and then they're dying in the fire. So I heard this explanation somewhere else. Thought I'd just bring it up.
I had that doubt too. I was thinking.
So 28 is a normal entry into the into Ishvara, right? So into the so that is by good people who are willingly going in, whereas like here you're saying into the destruction. Yeah, that sounds definitely interesting. A good explanation about moths.
A moth without thinking anything, it just goes straight and then does like a self-destruction. It does it.
Correct. Which is so true also when we are not thinking about truly a purpose of life and everything, we will end up doing a lot of wrong things. I mean, like on a simple physical level, eating fast food and all that, and causing our livers and everything to destroying our livers and all that. So we are destroying our own selves. And if you're not thinking through, we'll be living the short lives. So in some ways, rushing with speed to our own destruction. Great, Ananthya. That's a very nice explanation also.
Hariom, so are you saying, you said Lord Krishna was telling what's the future going to be. So is that what he says? All these rulers who fight for adharma, they'll all be killed and goes to his mouth? That's a future? That's what he's trying to explain?
Yes. So Arjuna is saying this, right? So Arjuna is able to see all this happening. And of course, Krishna is depicting that aspect of different kinds of rulers and everyone. And he is trying to show that, yes, adharma, people who are into adharma, they do not even know that they are doing adharma, and they are destroying themselves by their own actions.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's what
I think what Anand pointed out, the two different kind of people, So both of them at the end of the day are going to die. One of them, which probably, like it says in 28, people who knowingly are wanting to be part of Ishvara, just like the rivers are flowing into that ocean. Whereas in 29, we have people who don't know, through their own adharmic action, they don't know what they're doing and they're destroying themselves. Both of them seem to be, again going back, but they're dying. That is the only thing that needs to be taken, at least in this one, is they both are dying. In the first one, they're merging into Brahman, merging into Narayana, merging into, but here they are being destroyed, and of course they're going to come back.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we'll finish here. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kasyat dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.
So you went to Darjeeling for work's sake, or